What is going on, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, we're going to be talking about starter items that I would run on every specific support, no matter the scenario of the enemy team. Also, what first item I would be rocking with them too, whether it's Thebes, Binding, Prophetic. I'll let you guys know kind of just what you can do every single time, and it's not really dependent on the enemy. It'll be the safest option, and it'll be the best option most of the time. Starting with Caron, I think I'm going War Flag on him currently. I think he uses movement speed very well, and I think he abuses the late game attack speed steroid for his 2. I also will be going Prophetic on him. I think his cooldowns are slightly too high, and I think Prophetic really helps bring it down, and he stacks it pretty fast. For Ares, Sentinels through and through, and I'm going Thebes on Ares. It's too hard to get Prophetic stacked if you fall behind, and if you're not dominating the game, you're not able to walk at the enemy and actually get those stacks onto them. So Sentinels, Thebes on Ares. Artio, probably the hardest one to do because she's such a funky character. I think 90% of the time I'd be going Sentinels into Prophetic. Sentinels to make yourself just as tanky as possible, and you get Prophetic stacks pretty well. You also use cooldown really well because she has abysmal cooldowns, probably even worse than Caron. Sentinels into Prophetic for her. Athena, she stacks Prophetic very well. I'm going Prophetic on Athena. And then I think I'm going Benevolence a lot of the time on Athena, and then Compassion or Heroism, dependent on kind of the comp you're playing against. If they have just like a bunch of damage CC dive, just go Compassion. If they have one CC that they're relying on, Heroism makes a lot more sense. Atlas, I love Sentinels on Atlas because it allows me to go a damaging item somewhere later on in the build, whether it's Sentinels, and then I'm going Prophetic because he stacks Prophetic very well. One thing to note with Atlas is that the Pulse on the 1 does not stack Prophetic. I see people even in my ranked games throwing the 1 down missing, and then I walk into it, and then they just boom, 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 thinking they're getting a billion stacks. In reality, brother, you got 0 stacks. That does not stack it, but like, yeah, something like Sentinels, Prophetic, and then Divine, perfect for Atlas. Next is Bacchus. This one's a little risky, but I'm going to say I would go Prophetic on Bacchus. It's not too hard to stack on him, but if the enemy just kind of runs away from you, your only real good stacking ability is your 3. If they're kind of distancing themselves pretty well, they're not going to allow you to stack it. I still think it's kind of easy on him, so I will say Sentinels into Prophetic, I think feels really good on him. The first non-Thebes or Prophetic god, in my opinion, I really like War Flag into Binding on Cabrakan. It gives you that early game, kind of run it down, get that lead, snowball type of build. Later on, maybe some games, I'll say Thebes or Prophetic, but I'm really big on War Flag into Binding on Cabrakan. For Serb, I'm going to be playing a little bit more front to back, so I'm going to be able to kill the enemy frontliner. Binding does it really well, but I think he needs Prophetic for how bad his cooldowns are. He stacks it pretty well. And then I think he just uses Sentinels very well. So Sentinels into Prophetic for Serb. Cthulhu. If I was playing Cthulhu and I play him in my style, which is playing front to back with him and play in the middle of the fight, I love Benevolence on Cthulhu. I'd be going Benevolence into Prophetic nearly every game. Compassion, he soaks so much damage and he heals his team. And then Heroism, it's just a huge shield a lot of the time. So both of them are just really good options on Cthulhu. Fafnir, I hate worrying about stacking Prophetic on Fafnir. I really like just going Thebes and then just kind of running it down. I'll be going War Flag and Thebes on Fafnir nearly every game. Ganesh. Ganesh is a sneaky one because you can realistically build any of them and it feels fine, any of the starters. But most of the time, I would just prefer to go Sentinels on him so that I can go another damaging item, kind of like Atlas, whether it's a Divine, Deso, Chronos Pendant, whatever it is later on in the build. And then I just like going Thebes because you get it stacked so much quicker than anyone else. So Sentinels into Thebes for Ganesh. Geb, give me Benevolence or give me Death on Geb. And then I think he uses Prophetic well in most games. Some games it might be really hard for him to get Prophetic stacks, but I would go Benevolence into Prophetic on Geb nearly every game. Not really support, but I'll give you guys, I think I would go War Flag on Yorm. I'd probably go War Flag into Prophetic. Again, you have to keep in mind, I'm 99% sure his breath doesn't stack Prophetic, but I've been testing it a lot, and every time I'm like, oh yeah, I can't stack it. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm nearly positive that Prophetic does not stack with it. Next up, Capri, probably the best Benevolence god in the entire game. Can go both Heroism and Compassion. I think Thebes is still just his best option. It's kind of hard to stack on him, or it's kind of hard to stack Prophetic on him, so Thebes is just a good default. Kumbhakarna. Doesn't matter what you build, you're going to be useless. I'll say Sentinels Thebes, though. For Kuzenbo, give me Sentinels into Prophetic. He stacks Prophetic better than anyone else in the entire game because all you have to do is get hit by the enemy while your 2 is active and it gives you a stack. Easy as 1, 2, 3 counting. That's what counting is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Maui. Maui uses Prophetic really well. He gets it stacked really easily. He can walk up. He has those extra ranged autos, so you can space out to not get hit by them, and then you can hit them. And then I really like Benevolence on him also. But he does use War Flag sneaky well also. I think I will actually say War Flag into Prophetic would be the best for Maui. Sobek, I'm trying to get an early lead, and I'm trying to dominate this game in 10 minutes. Give me War Flag, and then give me Thebes, and then just give me cooldown. That's how I want to play the game, and that's how I prefer to build Sobek. Sylvanas, same thing as Sobek. I want that early lead, and I want to snowball. Give me War Flag into Thebes. Terra, she can build anything. She's busted. I would go probably Benevolence into Prophetic for her. She stacks kind of easy, but it can also be a pain if you're playing into something that, you know, doesn't allow her to dash like Ganesh or Ardio, but she still stacks it kind of well. Xingqian, Prophetic. You have to be unkillable with Xingqian. Just build as many protections as you can get on him. I'd just go Sentinels into Prophetic for Xingqian. Yamoja, probably the best Prophetic stacker in the game, bar Kuzenbo. And then she uses every single starter in the game well. I prefer Benevolence on her because either Heroism or Compassion allows someone in your backline to be unkillable. And then she uses the cooldown from Prophetic pretty well. Ymir, probably the worst stacker of Prophetic in the entire game. Give me Sentinels and then give me Thebes. You could go War Flag if you're confident you're going to be able to snowball a little bit, but I prefer being slightly tankier with the Sentinels. And now going into the other roles, we'll start with the Assassins. We'll start with Fenrir. Fenrir, I want to go Sentinels and then I want to go Thebes. You don't stack Prophetic very well on any of the Assassins, but I think Naja stacks it the best. So I think I would go Sentinels, or I would go War Flag into Prophetic on Naja. Serket, give me another Sentinels on her into Thebes. It feels really good if you could go Mask on all the Assassins, but I think Mask is so bad early because it reduces your damage you do, which is the reason you'd want to play an Assassin in the first place, is to do slightly extra base damage. So it doesn't make a ton of sense to lower your base damage a tiny bit just to be slightly tankier. Just use your base damage, use the Sentinels, and then go into Thebes on Serket and Fenrir. But I do think Fenrir can also use War Flag kind of well too. I just think being slightly tankier with Sentinels feels a bit better in the mid game. Next up, Herc. Give me War Flag. I'm trying to run it down. War Flag into Prophetic. He stacks Prophetic pretty well, but if you can get it stacked, it's a really nice cooldown option to kind of fill out your cooldown in just 3 items that allow you to just absolutely harass the enemy. Horus, give me Benevolence and then give me either Thebes or Prophetic. Most games, I think I will take Thebes, but Prophetic, if you have some easy time stacking against like a god that's not very great, it can feel really, really good. And then, because you guys are going to chew my head off if I don't talk about Shiva, because you guys think Shiva's the best god in the game, I'm going War Flag on Shiva. I think that extra movement speed you get in late game allows you to chase, and that heal's also sneaky. And then I'm probably going to be going Prophetic into Manticore. I think he uses cooldown really well. You also don't have a ton of cooldown options, so I would be going Prophetic into Manticore most of the time. Lastly, the mages. We're just going to be talking about 3 of them. Start with Aphrodite. Aphrodite, you know what you need to do? Prophetic. All the mages are Prophetic. Sneak peek right here. Mages rely on their cooldowns. They rely on their abilities. You're going Prophetic on Afro, Baron, Nox, and Hell. All of them. They all rely on it. They all stack it very well. Go the Prophetic. The starters where it changes up a little bit. I think a lot of them want to go Lonos, but I think Lonos just doesn't feel as good anymore because you're not just perma-stacking auras. All 3 starters can feel very well depending on what you want to be doing. I do think Sentinels is just the easiest to use, and it's just the best to just be like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're just kind of sitting around me. I want to be as tanky as possible, and then let's do it from there on. It also doesn't lower your damage like Lonos does in the early game, which is, I think, another reason you'd want to be playing these mages. You start with 21 power. You might as well make use out of it as a mage class. Don't reduce it with the mask. So yeah, just go Sentinels. But keep in mind, they can use Benevolence and they can use War Flag really, really well. I would personally just go Sentinels in most games. There it is, the starter items and the first items. I will be rushing on every single god for the most part. Some things might change here or there, but that's for the most part, 90% of games, what I would be building. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of today. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.